Hello, welcome to One's the Force of Star Wars podcast. My name's Phil, of course. I'm joined as usual by Dave and George for our Mandalorian breakdown. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hello there.
Good evening, my friends. It's lovely to be back talking about this awesomely wonderful show.
Indeed, especially so short after the first one, and now we have to wait another full week. But however, yes, this is Chapter 2, The Child. Before we crack into the story, this is a shorter episode. I was a bit surprised that, I must admit. What did you guys think of the overall kind of episode beforehand, and also the thoughts on it being just 32 minutes after the first one was, 46?
I was kind of struck off when you messaged me that, and I didn't want to believe it until I got the episodes viewed. Sorry, I almost said another word there. I wasn't worrying anything like that. I think when you watch the episode, 32 minutes is more than enough. There's not one scene that goes on too long. If they had added 10 minutes, it'd have felt like they've added 10 minutes. So I think for this episode, the structure was fine. And I think what it also means is that with this series, that it's not going to be like a HBO. You will always have 1 hour every week for this, or 42 minutes like normal TV in America. This felt very much like the pacing is for you to do what you need to do in your episode. And this episode, the story we get, it didn't need anything else than what we had, which is good because, you know, the budget 10 minutes might have saved. It might be the difference between adding a 10-minute budget onto like a fight scene later on in the series or some visuals or something like that. So worry at the start, but a welcome addition come the end. It
was a very, like you say, it's a very tight episode. It's put like literally there is no time for anything to kind of be. It's just this is the scene. That's what we want in it. That's what we'll show. Move on to the next scene. There was no sort of filler in this episode. There was a bit in the Jowry section where I've got a few issues, but other than that, it was a great. I loved this episode. To be honest, I smiled. Such a big smile for like the first 10-15 minutes just of joy in this episode.
It does feel like they are going along with the whole, you have no more time than this, but if you end up being shorter, take as long as you need to tell the story you need to tell in probably a maximum time frame, I reckon, apart from the finale, which may be a 2-hour one or something. They might put a bit extra work into that, we'll yet to see, of course. But no, overall, thought it was a very good episode. We have a comment already saying from John Barton, saying, good evening, guys. Looking forward to the show. I must know what you thought of the Jedi Fallen Order. I was very impressed.
We'll cover that. I think we've got an episode coming up soon.
30 seconds to answer this question.
Yep.
Yeah, go.
Seeing as I'm paused on the telly next to me. Fallen Order's without a doubt one of the hardest games I've ever played in my life. It's one of the funnest games. It's not what I expected. It's strategic as hell. Even dueling, I still can't kill a scout trooper within 3 strikes because you have to duel them. Fallen Order is very good. I'm sure we will be talking about this in further detail. I was very worried when the review embargo was the actual minute of release, but the game's got very high reviews, and that was genuinely Disney saying, we don't want any spoilers out, that's why we're embargoing it now. And that's going to move into my next segue. So, Disney are not giving any press accounts for Disney Plus. Every press across the world will have to subscribe as a normal human being and pay their £6 a month. What this also means is that press aren't getting advanced copies, they're not getting advanced accounts. For cinemas, I'm sure they will. But that's the power of Disney at this point. That's why Mandalorian, get reviews out early. They're happening as the episode comes live. Because Disney know that people are going to watch it regardless. Nice little segue back into Mandalorian.
Cool. But yeah, again, just for Fallen Order, I'm playing it too. I'm only on like literally the second stage the third world you go to. It is such a tough game. It's really... I've literally started the level. There's a beast. I can't kill it. It keeps killing me, but I'll get there.
I think I know where you're on. I think I spent like 3 hours on this in the night and was getting absolutely mad.
But yeah, so it's great.
Planet begins with D.
It is great.
Does the planet begin with D?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I know where you are. Don't worry. I feel your pain.
I've had these two plus my friend talking to me about it, and I can't play it. So for me, it's a very sad time. However, so I'll just focus on.
It's not available on PC Master Race. Is that true?
No, it's available on PC Master Race. I just can't run it on mine.
Why? I thought you had a Master Race.
PC is required.
Yeah, my laptop isn't powerful enough to run it.
EA will be like waving their arms. Like, here is. Oh, can I actually say something really funny? This isn't really off the record, but there was a press day at EA on Thursday, and they had like R2-D2s from the Droids Builders Club, UK Garrison people, everything. And basically, EA told them it was for the promotional launch of the game. they all arrived on the day. And actually, it was just EA having a staff day as a well done for making a game. Here's some people for you to get photos with. They didn't even give them free copies of the game.
Wow.
EA in a nutshell. I just wanted to say that 'cause it's a really funny story I heard today.
But yeah, so anyway, we'll talk about this. I'm sure we'll save some of these tales for our regular show.
Indeed, or a special that these guys might do on Fallen Order. I probably won't be able to be a part of, which kind of sucks. However, it is what it is. Can't have everything in life. I'll stick to my wheelhouse for my comics. It's fine. It's fine. But yes, might as well crack into the episode. So there's not a huge amount of plot per se in this episode. It is kind of a filler, but at the same time, it's a very fun filler. Unlike episodes of Resistance or Rebels, where they kind of, or even Clone Wars, where they do kind of bits for bits' sake, this still has some sort of underlying plot to it that links to the main plot, but it is still overall quite fun. I guess I'll take us through the episode in a very short, concise way, and then we'll break it down as we go through it. Episode opens up with... Hang on a second, let me just bring up my notes. Yes, episode opens up with the Mandalorian walking through some sort of some valley or some sort of cave system. Gorge, that's the word I'm looking for. It's in my head there. Similar to Georgie down the bottom there. No, they're walking through a gorge with his little floating pram. You can actually, if you look very carefully, you can see shadows leaping across. You can see another one in his helmet, which I thought was really cleverly done, but we'll get on to that later. The Mandalorian pauses as he kind of senses something, draws his blaster, but it gets knocked down by one of the Trandoshans, who we saw in the Vanity Fair, I think it is, press release photo we had earlier in the year. Again, we'll go back and talk about that later. So two drop down, using vibro blades, attacking the Mandalorian. Little baby Yoda's pushed aside. And then we get our first really cool bit here, of course, with the Mandalorian kind of beating the crap out of them. And eventually, he notices as well the fob, the same guild fob that IG-11 had, the same one he has, in one of the Trandoshan's little pockets. He ends up disintegrating one of the Trandoshans. This is actually the very first example of disintegration we've seen in canon. It's brilliant and also quite funny. Then cuts the Mandalorian kind of healing himself. Using I don't know what it's called, but I know it's a electro. It basically welds up the wound lines, and you have our little baby Yoda kind of wandering up to him. He picks him up, puts him back in the little pram, wanders over again, puts him up, puts him back, and let's little backwards and forwards there. He's working his armor. It's quite cute, quite funny. And I must admit, I do think the baby Yoda they use there is a puppet. I know it's a real. It is a prop, but I think that's a maquette of some sort. I do really like the detail they've got into in that, which is the mix between the CG and, of course, this puppet version, which they do a lot better than the puppet and CG version of Yoda in Episode 1. You then have the cutbacks of the Mandalorian trying to get back to his ship, of course, and it's all been taken apart. It's not good. It's very, very ungood, as I should say there. Finds out, of course, it's Jawas, has to chase them off. This is where things just get very, very funny indeed, with the fact that he then finds these Jawas and starts disintegrating them from a range, which, it just cracked me up. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's cool to see another sandcrawler, it's cool to see the Jawas, but see them actually being disintegrated is just another level of hilarity. You then have the Mandalorian chasing after the sandcrawler, climbing up the side of it. You have the Jawas intentionally driving into a side of a cliff just to get rid of him, and it is a very comical, basically, chase through the desert. Ends up with the Mandalorian finally getting to the top of this sandcrawler to be greeted by a bunch of very angry Jawas who just blast him because he's been throwing them overboard, and of course he hits the deck and it's lights out from there. He is, of course, with Baby Yoda. He wakes up eventually and drags himself to his ship, has a look around, of course, is completely torn apart, nothing's working. He tries to fire up the engines, nothing's going to happen there. He then decides to go and find his friend Coil, or Keel, however you want to pronounce it, Kuill, which is Nick Nolte's Ugnaught character. He's quite very similar, saying, "I thought you were dead." Well, I tried to leave. My ship has been, ship is broken. So no, they've stolen parts. They've not destroyed it. So what's the difference? Or still can't escape. He goes, well, okay, we'll go and find them, and we shall barter with them. At this point, the little baby Yoda eats a frog, and again, it's all kind of little cute and funny. Again, I do absolutely love that. I think I have that screenshot, but I can't remember if I put it in the banners or not. The Mandalorian and then and Coil turn up to barter with the Jawas. He's forced to put his weapons away, and he ends up sitting down having a very funny conversation with the Jawa leader. Which is funny. It says your Jawa is very poor. You sound like a Wookiee. Again, I find this whole interaction quite hilarious. He ends up saying, what do you want that I can't provide? So, well, we want the egg. And he goes, what is this egg we're going after? Sandcrawler basically takes them to what looks like a pit with what does look like a hole in the ground. I'm not going to say what type of hole, but it is very clear what type of hole in the ground it looks like. But no, there is no Sarlacc in here. There is just a very furry, reek-looking like creature in here. Basically, a woolly rhino, effectively. You see a couple of blaster shots from the inside, a couple of reflections, and then he just gets punted out, hits the deck. Beskar is spent everywhere. He's absolutely just mangled. Tries to use the flamethrower, tries to use a lot of things so that he kind of fades in and out there. You see him pull a knife out of his greaves on his leg and prepares for something. However, as it's charging on little baby Yoda, as we then find out, actually ends up using the Force to stop this beast in its tracks and kind of holds him in place. The Mandalorian, it gets obviously very confused, doesn't know what's going on. Eventually, the baby Yoda loses his concentration, or he just uses all of his energy. He hits the deck, he collapses. The Rhino hits the deck. Mandalorian stabs him. Everything is all good. He gets up completely, utterly muddy. Goes back inside the cave, finds the egg. At this point, the Jawas are leaving because they think he's not going to come back, but he does bring them this egg, and again, hilarity ensues with them just going to town on this egg.
Disgusting.
It is disgusting at the same time. It is just hilarious. Again, the Ugnaught and the Mandalorian basically take the baby Yoda, who is still asleep at this point, basically completely wiped out. They take him back to the ship. Mandalorian says it'll take a few days, and says, well, of course, if you don't help, it will. And then basically just rebuild the ship and bugger off out of there. He knows he needs to get the baby back to
Apollo Creed.
Back to Grief Karga. No, back to the client. So he can basically return the assets. He offers Nick Nolte a position in his ship. He declines, says goodbye, and then Baby Yoda wakes up on the journey home. Very simple, very concise, however, just hilarious. And just a very good, funny, feel-good episode. And apparently we have lost Dave.
No, I've got Dave on mine.
I'm still here.
Apparently, on my screen, apparently you're not there anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, you can ignore me, but I'm here.
No, that's fine. I believe it's fine. But anyway, gentlemen, thoughts on the episode overall then?
I will jump in and say that the opening scene was excellent. We didn't really get I wouldn't say it's fist to fist, but we haven't really had that kind of combat that's not either a lightsaber or like a Han Solo type and a trooper. Seeing sort of bounty hunters go at each other was, I think, quite fun. But also it raised the question that no one seems to be addressing, is that these were there to kill Baby Yoda. They weren't there on other duties to take him back to Werner Herzog. The question this is raising for me, now that IG-11 and the Trandoshans come for and fail, is who's the bounty out to have it killed and not delivered elsewhere? That's the question I have, and that's what I'm very intrigued by.
I'd never, to be honest, until you just said that now, I'd never really thought about, now it's the third lot of bounty hunters that have now been after the same prize. And yes, you're right. So far as we know, the Mandalorian is the only one who's been told as a preference, get this thing back to us alive.
Well, it all depends if the Imperials we're meeting later on the series, if they've also given the directive, but they're coming at it from a different angle. Well,
that's what I think. I think it's all going to tie into Gus from Breaking Bad having his grand entrance with that 70s mustache. I cannot wait.
Could be amazing.
It's Chadwick Glorious. I mean, talking about that Trandoshan scene first off, I want to talk about this bit here. So I really want to talk about the vibro blade. So we saw kind of what we thought were vibro weapons used by Paul Bettany's character in Solo, whose name's escaped me. Dryden Voss, there we go. Just escaped off the top of my head there. But this is the actual first proper vibro blade we've seen in Star Wars, not in canon, but I think certainly in live action or I don't think it's been in the cartoons, but it's the first time I've seen a proper vibro blade in action. It's kind of cool to see them bringing that to life as well. And then again, I want to talk about disintegration, because now, of course, now it all makes sense from episode 5. It was like, no disintegration. Whereas this is clearly what happens if that is not obeyed. And I quite like that. It was kind of cool to see. Of course, this was the Vanity Fair pictures we had as well.
It's definitely from that area in time there. We've got that's obviously what that scene was, and it's lovely to see that. Like, the disintegration thing is amazing. I love the fact it was used so freely on the Jawas, which was
that's one of my favorite moments in Star Wars history. That was without doubt one of the most boring, repetitive creature there's ever been. Never
I
like
love the Jawas. They're brilliant.
Hate them as a kid, hate them now. It isn't even like a dislike, as in I dislike the character. It's the entire creature, the design, the people at conventions, the noises, everything about them. I hate seeing them. I really felt it when he just started obliterating them. I felt that deeply, and I was so connected to it. And it was the fact that he didn't even like do anything. The way he was reloading, like it was like, "Here's my special like disintegration bullet for these bastards."
For these people, for these banthas.
But the thing is, it took me like a second or two to clock on that he disintegrated them, because it's like a comedy thing of Jazz. I thought like he might have shot one, it might have just gone like 10 yards, and then I realized after the second one that he's disintegrating them one by one. But
it's the fact that it's when he has the one that's in the crosshair and it just starts blasting left and right, going, where the hell is this going from? Then it's just poof, gone.
It's stuff we haven't seen in Star Wars. It's stuff they've alluded to, but nothing we've got to witness. And it brings that, this isn't your, again, I'm not going to slag off 7, 8 or whatever, but the violence, I mean, it doesn't need to be violent, but the violence you've seen is so tame in the films.
Yeah.
Scene 1 of Mandalorian, bloke gets chopped enough. Episode 2, Jawas being disintegrated. We've seen the monkey being roasted watching its friend. So there's it's doing something. I mean, don't get me wrong, the film's had its moments of stuff like this, but being tame wouldn't work for a bounty hunter TV series.
You need to go full bore.
I love the destruction of the Jawa scene. I love, like Phil alluded to when he's going through the episode, seeing a sandcrawler again, seeing the Jawas, seeing Baby Yoda. This, honestly, just the smile on my face at the opening of this episode was quite unreal. I've never been quite so happy watching an episode of television, and I can't remember when I've felt like that way. And it was literally, it's so Star Wars. It's quite phenomenal.
I must admit, when it got to that point, I thought this may have been Taika's episode, because I hadn't looked up who had directed this one before I watched it. Just because of the comedy aspect to it, but of course it isn't. I think his is coming in a couple of weeks' time. I can't remember again which one exactly it is.
Tiger's finale, yeah.
The Jawas did not find this episode funny.
Oh, no. Mate, I mean, at least all the cosplayers, they're now going to be able to make a radical change and turn the eyes red for what's new.
Or have little explosive points on them.
One thing I did love, and I don't know if anyone else...
No, they're just carrying an egg now. Just chanting egg.
We'll talk about hairy egg in a minute.
We'll get to that egg. When he's climbing the side of the sandcrawler, I only look like 60s Batman, but even better than that, there was this moment when they opened the window and you were expecting full episode 6 when he throws the guy out, and he didn't. He slammed the door on his fingers, and it's the little shaking thing. I really enjoyed that, but then again, he eventually did start throwing them out windows, and considering he murdered a lot of their friends and probably family members, it's
the one he chucks off the top that just has the Jawa yell and then the thud, and you just see it hit the ground. It's not even the fact you cut away; you just see it go thud into the ground. Little Jawa just completely motionless. I want to bring a little comment up here from Robin going, Mandy and Boda, not Bobba, walking through the canyon was very arty going through the canyon episode 4. Yeah, it was kind of similar to that in a little way, yes, but apart from the Jawas this time just going, oh, you're full down. No, this is just, we're going to lob you off the roof. We're going to then just chuck you out windows. We're going to break your fingers, disintegrate you. This is just more violence. And for people like George who don't like Jawas, this is justice on a big scale.
Anybody else thought, but when he was trying to climb up the side of the sandcrawler, how much it was like Luke on Jabba's sail barge from Jedi, that was literally what called back to me.
Oh, very much so, very much so. I like the fact though that it cuts the cockpit. They're like, "Hey, can you drive this thing into the side of the cliff? It's hang on the edge." It's like, Sure, why not? Just try and ram him off. They're like, oh, shut the windows. It's just, it is a very well done scene. This is one of those points where, yes, this has nothing to do with the main plot line, but I don't care. This is just brilliant. The one thing I do want to go back to, though, just slightly, though, in the canyon, though, we had that whole image that was put in Vanity Fair. And we talked about it on our show a few months ago. And it's like, I complained and say it looks too crisp, it looks too good, it looks too bright and shiny. It looks like models. It had complained about it felt like the Star Trek kind of feel to it. Now that I've seen it in moving image, all those complaints have gone away. Absolutely gone away.
There's not been one shot in this movie. That's how good it is. In this series,
that is how good it is. That's the compliment I was trying to go for. To explain to my dad was how much of a compliment I can give it. It feels like a movie. But anyway, go forward.
Yeah, I was going to say it's all shot beautifully. The framing, the background they have set up, the scenes all look stunning the way it's been shot. And the director of photography, I don't know who is on each of the episodes, if it's different or it's the same director of photography, but he is doing such masterful work in the series.
I think she's on all of them. I can't remember. I have to check that on that one. But yeah, no, she's done a fantastic job with this. And then, of course, moving on forward from there, we get to bartering, get to talking about the ship stuff. So get back to Nick and Nolte, get back to Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda, of course, eating the frog. Yeah, I just want. Sorry, go on. You were laughing.
No, I love the Yoda interaction on this one. I know before we get started, I know this is not Yoda. I'm aware that he is dead from Return of the Jedi. Obviously, we don't know his species. I know there's people on Twitter and things go, "Oh, don't call him Yoda. He's not Yoda." Well, of course not. But we have no other name to kind of give him. Yeah, but I love the scene of him eating the frog. I absolutely put that down and just swallows the frog down.
Spits it out. It's like, nope.
But to be honest, he hadn't fed it since he picked it up, so I can't blame him for eating the frog either.
This is very true indeed. And we'll get on to wrong screenshot. However, still that's my favorite part of it, and I want that to be our thumbnail. You all voted against me in the comments, so you voted against me having that as our.
Robin betrayed you too.
Robin did betray you. Yes.
I sent him a message just going traitor. Just because he did betray me on that one.
They don't deserve to be on the cover. As many photos as we can of the same character across 8 episodes are going to be wonderful.
I don't care. I wanted Jawas, damn it. I love that. However, everyone voted against me, and it was not fair. I just want to talk about this. I want to talk about the bartering scene, because I know, Dave, this is where you have a little bit of an issue.
My only issue, I had an issue with the bartering. The bartering scene was fine. It's this point where I felt that the Jawas became the minions. Very much the sounds, the way they were acting, everything. When they became that big huddle of them, that's all I could hear was the minions. And I couldn't get it out of my head when they were together and acting silly. Even when they were taking the Mandalorian to the destination to get the egg, I could not get rid of the minions out of my head. And it really took me out of the episode. And maybe think, oh God, these guys. That was the only thing that I really disliked about it. Seeing them again, awesome. As soon as they got to a big huddle and started all yammering and chatting, minion. Do you want
to know what my thought on minions are?
Are they the Jawas of the animated world?
they're basically just Jawas not in the hood. There's a common thread between people that enjoy minions and people that enjoy Jawas. There's a common line in there, and the scene of them. I didn't like the dialogue. I'm probably in a minority in this. I didn't find it funny. It just felt like, again, I like this episode. I like the action. I like the pacing. I didn't like the
keeping George up. It's had a busy day.
You wanted it all about the Jawas. Just every time they're on screen, you just don't want to pay attention to them, and the minute they said egg and name dropping Wookiees and stuff like this, and Jawa's doing, because when has a Jawa ever had reasonable dialogue that needs a subtitle? It's like when they made the Death Troopers talk. Come on, again, Jawa's never sat well with me. So this is an episode that I wasn't how it's going to go. But the battering scene was just stupid because he could have killed them all and he knew it too.
What's this way? Just launched the flamethrower at them. It's like, oh, how? Well, this one then.
How did it not die? It was generally on fire. He put a flamethrower on it, and it either had Jedi reflexes and ducked that quick, or they're flame resistant, which definitely isn't the case in A New Hope.
They're definitely going to have a flame retardant Jawa outfit as the next thing.
And I love the question. Now we know it's under a Jawa's hood. Yes,
pull it back. There's a minion under there.
Just little LEDs over his goggles. Go, yep, that's fine. I'm here.
I think anyone would have been upset with Anakin if he'd got a lightsaber out on Jawas instead of, you know, that classic scene in Attack of the Clones when he just beheads that sand trooper, not sand trooper,
the sand person. Yeah, Tusken Raider.
And could you just imagine like a new version of just them like murdering all the Jawas in their village?
The thing is, though, in I think it's in Jedi Academy, there is a mode Jedi class where you have to go to Vader's castle, which is where they took the inspiration to make it into on the one in Mustafar. And it's just crawling with Jawas, and you can force lightning them, you can force choke them, throw them, you can decapitate them and cut them up. George, this is what I keep saying, go back and play these games, because you'll find this level and you will just love it. All you do is just slaughter Jawas.
You chop creatures in half you've never heard of and die.
Yeah. All fun.
When your health back, you got to bring all your enemies back too. That's the world we live in.
That's an awful thing about the respawn. But yes, I mean, from that, I mean, we kind of moved on to sort of the big moment in the episode where we got to the pit where he's fighting I'm going to call it a hairy reek.
Yeah.
That eye picture is disgusting. But,
is it Cataracts?
Yeah, too right. It is awful. I mean, literally, there was things in this scene, that egg, when it got open and they started tucking in, honestly,
I love that.
Nearly a little bit sick in my mouth.
Oh,
I could never look at a cream egg the same.
That annoyed me too, right? Because they chopped the thing out. I know I'm jumping way ahead. When they chopped the egg, you just sat there thinking that they've just bartered with maybe a month's worth of money and suppliers and sales for a quick snack.
There must be something in that. It must be like an elixir inside of that egg.
When they cut the top open, and I don't mean this as like a criticism of like the production design. It was so clearly a plastic tube with like yellow glue in it, and like obviously like fake hair. But it was so obvious. It was just this perfectly cropped plastic tube too. But I just I was not a fan of the Jawas again. This is kind of my awakening to Jawaville.
So it's our usual here. George doesn't like it. Dave's in the middle, and I love it. It's brilliant. This is how we work. This is how we
I still love the episode. I just, hate Jawas. Like, come on. If anyone looks at the best Star Wars creatures of all time, they can't seriously be in anybody's top 10, can they?
Not at all. It's Robin, a very powerful aphrodisiac inside of that. Yeah, it's like oysters to Jawas. They just took that home. Oh, honestly, they had a great night that time with the inside of the egg.
I was expecting them to like devour a baby, but it was the yellow oak was just like it's even more pointless now.
Oh, it was quite disgusting. Honestly, I was really.
So this will be my Easter watch now. Whenever Easter comes around, stick this episode on. I'm all good.
The hair to come out of it.
You see my hair, right? So it would surprise me.
Let's get off the hairy egg, back to the hairy beast.
Let's talk about the floating hairy beast. Let's talk about this for a bit, shall we?
Right, can I jump in? Django Fett versus the Reek Attack of the Clones. Let's talk.
That was just one shot to the middle of the eyes, wasn't it?
Yeah. I just felt everything parallel from him getting battered by it, from him accepting he was probably going to die, and I don't know. It just because the design looked like the Reek and it was against Mandalorian, it just looked very iconic.
You could see, yeah.
We had this in trailers. We knew this would come. The moment they say egg, you probably knew it was going to come to this scene. Which is there's nothing wrong with that. But the fight itself, it was personally, I wasn't bothered by the fight. It was more about what was happening with Baby Yoda. We had a little tease of him putting his hands up earlier in the episode, and the Mandalorian shuts the door and tells him to go to bed. And then maybe one of the cutest, most satisfying moments in the history of Star Wars. I think the Mandalorian at this point is accepting his death too. He puts the knife down, bows his head.
When he put the knife up and sat down, absolutely, yeah, that's what I thought as well.
And seeing Baby Yoda I mean, we knew he was probably going to get revealed as Force sensitive. There's no hiding from that, because if he wasn't going to be, they could use any of the species in Star Wars.
Yeah.
But it was, to me, it was the soundtrack. There's a certain soundtrack that's coming through now where they had it in the reveal at the end of episode 1, where it's not like a Yoda theme, but it's kind of this. I keep forgetting the word I want to use, but it's a very mysterious sort of theme, and it had it again when the Force is intact.
Kind of ethereal, yeah.
The Mandalorian turns around and looks at him like, I don't know what this is. And obviously, I'm not jumping ahead to the end, but he obviously has a conversation as well, saying, tell me what it was again. I don't know. I've never seen it. But forgetting this is post Return of the Jedi. This is an era where there's only been one Jedi that's done anything in 25 odd years. And
well, Dave and I had this conversation in Approach Up when I didn't know you'd seen the episode or not. And I said, well, yeah, I'd be surprised that he didn't know what it was being used. So, well, you have to remember, this is set, 9 ABY. He was a foundling during the Clone Wars at a very early age. He may not have seen a Jedi in combat. The Empire has done its best to erase all knowledge of the Jedi from existence, to give a generation of people that don't know the Jedi have existed. There are legends, of course, and Luke Skywalker by this point has become a legend, but to most people in the galaxy, he is just that, a legend. Only those who fought in the rebellion know who he was and what he was. So it's a very, again, and the Republic hasn't done much to build it up. We don't know if Luke's Jedi Academy has been set up yet. There's a lot going on in the universe, so he may not have seen the Force being used at all by anyone, so he may not have something to compare it to.
Just quick, before Karen, just Chris James jumping in there, just in the comments, in 2 notes of the Force theme inside of there. It did have that little hint of the Force theme. Like you could hear it, like it was almost wanting to play, like it was going to, should we go to the Force theme, but we're going to hold right back from it, which I think was a really nice touch as well. I wouldn't have wanted them to go full Force theme. No. I think it just hinted at it in the background with the way they played it, and I really liked that.
That's the big thing, I think. Not that they wouldn't have Yoda's theme on, but if they'd have played like the Force theme or by sense, I think that would have cheapened the moment too.
Yeah, definitely.
Too much on the nose.
This isn't a John Williams score, not even a John Williams score, but this is doing its best to be detached from what we already know, and certainly the soundtrack's been, except the Rocky theme, very original, and it's it's one of them where the soundtrack has been great, but I think any use of any of the song in that moment would have certainly cheapened the moment. And what they went for instead, the visual shot of it lifting a couple of inches, Baby Yoda collapsing in all of its cute glory. It was truly a special moment that I think could be pivotal to the future of the series.
Now, did any of you see that was how that fight was going to end going into that? I know Yoda was there, and we had that feeling that was going to come into him being Force sensitive or not. That's obviously why they're trying to get a hold of him. I'm
not going to sit here and say, I saw it coming 100%. Earlier in the episode, when he puts his hand up, I was there like, there could be a reveal at some point in the series. And the moment in which he bows his head, it's going to happen. But I would not have known at the beginning of that fight it's how it would end. I think credit comes down to the fact that on any single piece of promotion, that baby was photoshopped out. That was
absolutely.
And even with the Trandoshans and stuff, it's added a different element to the series that I didn't see coming, that no one saw coming. That's completely 180'd where I think it could go.
It's a really nice thing, and I think you're right. There's that shot in this episode where they're coming along in the pinkish background, the pinkish sky, and there's the Mandalorian. I'm sure we saw that in the promotional art. But obviously the ball that Yoda is inside was obviously taken out of all of those shots, or wasn't there. Obviously it wasn't in the actual photograph plate when they took it, so that was able to then just be added in. But yeah, to have that now where we know it's been about in some of these scenes that we've had pictures of, it's a really nice thing to kind of think, right, they've kind of held the story right back from us and never really let us know what was going to be going on.
No, it's like with Civil War and Spider-Man, where they kept him out of all the promotional material, they kept him out of the trailers. It's that same level of keep away, keep out the plot point, to then add another level when you got to it. I just want to bring up a little comment here we had from Chris as well, going, let's bring it up. Here we go. So I did the math. 50-year-old Yoda is exactly the same age as the Commissioner of the Clone Army, and Imperial Doctor has clone emblem on his arm, which is very true. Have seen that.
I don't think he's the same age. I think it's about 10 years older than the army. So I think we're 9 ABY.
Mm-hmm.
28 years takes you to episode 3. 3 years to Clone Wars. That's 31 years. And then 10 years to episode 1, which is 41. Obviously, in Attack of the Clones, they say we've been waiting 10 years for you to Obi-Wan, thinking he's Cypher Dia. So I think he's 9 years old in the clone army. However, the clone emblem on the arm is very, very correct. I think I'm not going to say I know where it's going, but I have a very sneaky suspicion that they will want to clone this species thing. And I think the Mandalorian is going to hand it over, and then he's going to completely 180 and take it back, or something happens. Do you know what I mean?
This took me by complete surprise when it happened. To see, obviously, when he was getting out of when the Mandalorian was trying to heal his arm, and Yoda creature got out of the box and tried to hold his hand up to the wound as if he was going to try and help, you kind of think, oh, okay, is that him just wanting to be of assistance or to maybe try and heal him or aid in healing? For him to show that level of force power at, 50, yes, but to put that onto there and to lift that reek up, and yeah, we saw it only lasted for a few seconds and it wipes him out completely to where he was unconscious for the majority of the rest of the episode. But such a level of power. Is this a clone from Yoda, or is this just one of the species? And is his species, are they all force sensitives?
I think it's the latter of the two. I think it's very much his species of force sensitive. It's not a clone of Yoda. To go back to the point though, I wasn't surprised when I saw him using the force. I was surprised to use it then. I wasn't shocked to see it as soon as he had his arms up. As you said, back when he was healing his wounds, like, there's going to be revealed something later on. I think he's going to be force sensitive at some point, or something's going to come from it. Wasn't sure what. So when it was revealed, I wasn't completely surprised, but it was a welcome one. It was that reaction of, I'm surprised to be sure, but a welcome one. It's that I was happy to see it. I'm interested to see where it goes. It does kind of, as you said, give you a complete 180 on where you think the series is going to go, what you think is going to happen. And of course, from what we've seen, there's only the vast majority of material is the first 2 episodes that we've seen in any of the trailers. We've only got bits of the other Imperials, which will probably be episode 3.
Yeah. You've got really, you've only got Gina.
Gina Carano, yeah.
Yeah, her character come in that we've really seen shots of, and Gus from Breaking Bad, whose character's name is still out of my head. So there's only those 2 major characters that we haven't really seen. The Death Troopers that obviously come along with him as well. So that is to come. But other than that, we've seen kind of from the trailers, I think we've seen the majority of things from those. Speeder Bike is the other thing that kind of stands out that we haven't seen yet. But other than that, I think we've seen the majority. Yeah, but we've seen the majority of stuff that we were given in the trailers in these first couple of episodes. And I think that's really nice, knowing that we've got another 6 episodes to go where there's a lot of material that we have no idea what it is. And with this direction of the clone, will we get back to Kamino? Will this be something that we'll see? Or do you think that's maybe a season?
As long as they don't bring back the whole trying to clone the Emperor spiel we had from the EU, I'm fine. But unfortunately, I can see that that's where it's going.
I think with this, they probably waited years to find another species that is, another creature of Yoda's species. Not that this is Pokemon or anything, but I've got a sneaky suspicion that the less we know about their species, the better. But I don't imagine them being a species where they all sit on one planet together and, like E.T.'s fellows do. I think this is one where, one might crop up in the galaxy every so often and then be like a sporadic rare thing in the galaxy too.
That's why it's so important, yeah. Chris, just in the comments, and believe me, I've had this conversation in my house with my wife as well. My 6-year-old is obsessed with Baby Yoda. When do the toys come out? If Disney are not working or have not worked on a toy Baby Yoda, they are insane.
If there is not a plush version in the works, I would be extremely surprised.
There's going to be plushes of all sizes. It's this year's Porg.
It's this year's Buzz Lightyear. It's going to be next Christmas. Baby Yoda is nowhere to be seen and not available.
I'm waiting for the inevitable Funko announcement of no one in the world's seen a Mandalorian legally, except when Funko go and tweet the next 10 episodes worth of pops that are going to come out.
Yeah.
Considering how much they've done for the first 2 episodes, you can imagine so much more coming. It has leaks as well of the pops they want to pick. It's not on the list, I believe, unless it was hidden with a different.
What I want is, because obviously they've done the Millennium Falcon, I just want the ship, the little hole that's in with the big Funko Pop Baby Yoda head sticking out of it. On the
That'll be its real size, won't they? They'll do a 10-inch one.
They really will. Oh, it'll be almost life size. That'd be amazing.
Well, it would be life size. It's fine. It's great.
But yeah, so this episode took me, as I say, with us having the story that we had. And obviously, this was literally a direct continuation, and it's just literally now going to be taking us to the next point. I think that's going to be the good thing. I think we're going to get a very linear story here, where we're going to get this episode's finished. The next episode, he's going to land back with the client, and where that's now going to become his next choice, I believe. With, does he hand it over? Does he not? And I'm kind of in the camp still that he's going to hand this thing over.
I don't think he will. That's where I land. I don't think he will. Hand over. I think he'll have a change of heart.
I think there's going to be a moment in which he goes to hand it over and doesn't they turn on him, or he hands it over, takes the money, then tries to take the baby back. I think it's going to be
baby back. Sorry,
there's going to be a defining moment in episode 3, and I imagine it being the end scene too.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that we'll maybe get a longer episode as well. I'd like to get it back towards that 38 minutes. This one was very tight and concise at 32, and I actually liked it and didn't feel there was any need for anything more. I loved the A-Team scene of them putting the ship back together. They did all the old 80s A-Team episodes where they'd go into a yard, bang some steel together, and the ship was perfect. It was amazing.
I was expecting the A-Team theme tune, I won't lie.
I mean, we've got the Rocky theme, why not?
Yeah, drop that in there as well. That would be amazing. But yes, other than that, I mean, it was I loved this episode. And I mean, we're running at sort of 40 minutes now, but we're probably going to run a little bit shorter than our normal because, again, there's not a lot happens in the actual episode per se. The main thing was them to get to this end episode and to show off the youngling's power and that the Force is there in the universe.
Yeah, just a comment here saying from Robert saying he hands him over, changes his mind, gets his Mando clan to help him get back. I could see that been happening. I could see that. I mean, we haven't seen anything of the Mandalorian clan, what they could do yet. I want to just see how they utilize them. At the moment, they've put there, and you know they're going to be used at some point in some fashion.
I don't think this early. I don't think the entire crux of the series will come down to him getting Baby Yoda back, not after having him over. I think there's going to be a confrontation. I think we're going to get the introduction to Gus from Breaking Bad. I apologize. He has a Star Wars name somewhere, but eternally, he will always be known as Gus from Breaking Bad. There is nothing else that can be said.
It really is.
He's a great actor, but it's so hard to ever look.
To be fair, I've not seen Breaking Bad, so I don't really have that connection.
Wow. I mean, I've not seen the Game of Thrones, but that's just upsetting.
I was going to say you're missing out an awful, incredible amount, and also it will get you very excited for an actor that I couldn't have imagined being in Star Wars.
Yeah, he's going to be excellent.
Maybe he owns like a 5 monkey lizard shop in his spare time, and he's actually using it to secretly launder Imperial credits across the galaxy.
Kentucky Fried Quarky Monkey Lizard.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the sign right there. It's just on the edge of the box trying to get out of the fryer.
Monkey Lizard Hermanos. There we go.
But overall, my impressions of this episode were a great continuation of the story that we're on. And then I'm really looking forward to next Friday to get the next episode. I can't wait to see where this is going. I love the fact we've got Clone and Camino involved in the story. I love that you could jump into this series and not know anything about Star Wars. My wife watched the first 2 episodes last night, and she has no interest in Star Wars or my podcasts or anything I do. But other than that, she really enjoyed it as well. And I think that's one of the big appeals. You don't have to have seen Star Wars to have jumped into this, if you get what I mean. You don't need to know the ins and outs. You could see this as a man in a mission series and not kind of, it's in the Star Wars universe, but you don't need any surrounding things.
No, I think that's spot on. I think I'm in the same point. This carried on where we left off. Yes, it may have been a slightly filler, but it was one of them where, it's carried on from the first one. It's been enjoying to watch. Great action, some building, raising question marks over the future of the series, and that's what I kind of wanted from this. And I think next week we're going to probably have a more plot-heavy episode, which I'm also fine with. I think it would have had, episode 1, here's the world, here's characters, here's plot. If we'd had the exact same in 2, it would have been too, sort of not sucker punches back to back, but you needed that. Not even light habit. I think you needed this episode 2, judging from what I think we may get of episode 3.
Absolutely.
Dave, any final thoughts?
No, just that again. I really love this episode. I love where the series is heading. I love what I've seen so far. This has made me way happier than I thought 2 episodes in the start of a new series would at all. So bring on more of the same. Just keep giving it to me. 8 episodes is not going to be enough. Phil, your thoughts?
Yeah, I cannot agree more on that front. Again, interesting to see where they go next week. I think next week's definitely going to be more of a plot-heavy episode. I think also the fact they released this a couple of days after the first episode, I think they had to release a lighter episode. No complaints there. I enjoyed this one. I loved it a lot. And Disintegrating Jawas will forever be in my heart as one of my favourite Star Wars moments of all time because it is just hilarious. And I've already rewatched the episode 2 or 3 times, so it's all good. Do we think the runtime was because 2 in 1 week, so they split it? Potentially, I think so. I think maybe just a lighter one, but I also think it's that you have your story, tell it in however long it takes. Here's a maximum, here's a minimum. If you take longer, then the minimum's fine. But I think that's more what they set to, not a you have to run to a certain time.
Yeah, I think the script would have been a lot shorter for chapter 2 than the others as well.
Definitely.
Indeed. So I think that's everything for tonight. So I don't think anything else, guys.
No, just literally again, thank you so much, guys, for joining us in the chat. For Robin, for Chris, who's in the chat, and anybody who's watching along live with any of this show, thank you so much for joining us and being part of the channel. It's growing, and that's amazing. That's down to people watching it. So thank you, guys, for being part of this.
Indeed, George. Anything else, or we were good?
I've said my final words.
Cool.
Wednesday.
Yep.
It is this week. I literally had a moment there a minute ago, just double checking my mind.
Indeed. So yes, that's per usual. Dave and I will be back tomorrow for our Resistance breakdown. Don't know if you join us for that one, George. Depends on the episode. If you like it or not.
I won't be joining you for Resistance. You have a lead actor watching your show. Putting me on it is one of the worst ideas you could have at this point in time.
Exactly. So it's fine. So yeah, Dave and I will be back tomorrow for our Resistance breakdown. Back for our regular show on Wednesday. We will of course be back. I think next Saturday. I think we're going to make Saturday our regular time for the Mandalorian. So we'll be back with that next week. We'll of course keep you posted on anything in the meantime. But yeah, all I have to say is thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can find us at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Once the Force and Stars Podcast, at The Force Podcast. You can find the audio version of this podcast later on Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, and iTunes. The video of course will be up on our YouTube channel. And that's about it. So thank you very much for watching. We Ones the Force. May the Force be with you. Good night.